All right, welcome back, guys. The Rotten Tomato is back to being a full roller, and I am so happy about it. Like, I don't know how this makes me so happy, but it does. There's still a ton of work that has to be done to this car, but I don't know why getting it to this point, like, kind of lights a fire under me. It gets me motivated, so I don't know why it does. But anyway, we got to get back to this, kind of get all this welded back in. It's just all tacked in there. This side is terrible. I think that's why I saved it for the last. That side over there went pretty good, but as you can see, I've got some really huge gaps. Like, what happened here was I'd cut it right here, and I guess the metal was still pretty rotten. It was hard to tell when I was doing it, but anyway, when I started welding it, it just started blowing out. So I just cut out a little section there. I'm gonna try to patch that in, and then I've got some pretty big gaps up there. Same thing happened. I got a little piece I'm gonna fix that with. I think this one is good enough to where I can weld it. There's a couple of spots like back there in that corner that the gap got away from me, but like I said, that was kind of my first attempt at this, so I learned a lot from that point to by the time I got over to that side. So, and if you're just now joining us with this car, I did get the trunk done. I got the filler all on it. I haven't sanded it down yet, but you know, that's just kind of where we're at there. I did kind of go on a spending spree once I got the car to this point. Bought some part. I did get this piece finally, so we'll have to get that done. But I kind of took a break from the back end of the car. It was so much work and pissed me off so bad that we're moving on to other things. I did buy a core support for it. I really did not want to disassemble the front end because everything kind of lines up really good, and I didn't want to disturb that because I know I will never get it lined back up like it's supposed to be. So I'm going to attempt. No, that ain't gonna work either. It's gonna, at least the nose is gonna have to come off, this part here, and I may just leave the fenders bolted on up there and just, you know, just unbolt these on each side, take the nose off, pull it out, slide the other one back in. I may try to like measure the distance between there and try to, you know, match it up. But I'm gonna get the inner fenders out. I get all the AC stuff out. All the brake shit's got to come off. I'm gonna pull the column out in the pedal assembly because it'll make it easier to get in up there where I got to finish welding all that. All that stuff will be in my way, and I wanted all that anyway because I have ordered some like rust encapsulator. So once I get all this done, the whole inside of the car is going to get kind of scuffed and coated. I'm even going to, the roof is pretty, the inside of the roof is pretty rough. Like I said, this car I think has been on fire. So I'm going to get all the big chunks scuffed off of it, and then we'll encapsulate all that. And then when we get the floors done, we'll seam seal everything, and then I'll undercoat the rest of it. I did get from about right here back is all undercoated before I put the rear end in it, so we'll do the same thing on the rest of the car. And then I'll probably paint the front of the frame because we'll have to take all the suspension components off and all that. But yeah, this core support is really rough, like right down in there, like it's not even attached there. So as much as I didn't want to have to take this apart, I'm gonna have to. I didn't really want to, like I said, get that far into it. I mean, the old car is just rough, you know, and it's not going to be, I'm not restoring the car, obviously. I'm just trying to make it a beater, you know, just something I can drive around. So it really didn't matter to me that this was as rough as it is up here, but structurally, like where it mounts to the frame is just all rotted out. So we do have a new one of those. So everything under the hood will be decent. I'm gonna scuff the firewall up and paint it. I'll paint, if these inner fenders, once I get them out, if they're salvageable, we'll just clean them up and paint them. So, you know, it's gonna look like shit on the outside, but when you pop the hood, it'll be decent. So that's kind of how this car is too, you know. I kind of like them being mechanically sound, decent interior, kind of decent under the hood, and I really don't care what the outside looks like. You know what I mean? I did order a dash cap, one of those plastic dash caps for the dash. Same thing I did for that car, but I am going to try to attempt to do a better job. I don't know if you'll be able to see it through the windshield, but you can see where it's kind of wavy. I didn't get it. Of course, I think I put this one in while the dash was in the car. So we're going to do this one out of the car where I can clamp it down and hopefully it'll stick. I've got all new door latches, strikers. I don't even remember what all I got. That's the inner door handles. I think that's just wiper arms. Those are the tank straps. I did go ahead and get some trunk splatter paint for when we do the trunk, when we do finish it. I did buy new scoops for the hood because I have this hood, which I'm debating on whether or not to use it, because I just think this one is not going to be salvageable. But I want to, because the, you know, the rough, you know, it all matches, but it's, you know, the top side doesn't bother me too bad, but the underside, all the structure, I don't even know. I figure the first time I close it, it's just gonna buckle. I have a new battery tray, all the park lights for the front valance, which that is gonna have to have some work. It's been up really bad, but we'll straighten it out the best we can. I got the majority of all the weather stripping. I think the outer, like, window felts didn't come. I ordered them, but they were back ordered, so we'll get them at some point. And I already have like door hinges and all that stuff. So yeah, we kind of went on a little spending spree in the last few days. I've spent, let's see, 600, 880 for, so about $1,900 I've spent to add to our total. So, but I think as far as front end components, I've got everything that came off of this car that was still in decent shape. I just upgraded to the tubular control arm, so I have all of my, I'm sorry, my shop is such a mess, but I have all of those control arms, shocks, and all that. I'm sure I'll have to buy, like, you know, tie rod ends and idler arm and stuff like that. Of course, we'll have to get all new brakes. I do have somewhere around here, I think in that box, I have a new master cylinder and brake booster. I got a fan shroud from when we went to the swap meet here a few weeks ago. I've got a gas tank. I've got another column. It's a tilt column. It just needs rewired, that I think I'm going to put in this car. Oh, one other thing. I am going to have to order a front fender patch for this side. I pulled this rocker trim off, and like this is just flat, like this is just Bondo. This whole area right here is just Bondo, and it's just flopping. So I think I'm gonna have to cut it about right in here somewhere. So I didn't really want to have to do that, but I'm gonna have to. And just a few other little spots I'm gonna have to weld, you know, weld some little patches in. There's one on the A pillar over there, and looks like there's one there too, so I'll have to fix that. I'll get all this weather stripping out, because like I said, I got all new stuff for it. I haven't decided what tires and wheels I'm going to run on this car once it's running and driving. I have the Steelies with the dog dish. I have Rallies. I have those welds I could put tires on, the ones that were on the Ventura at one point. I don't know, but I don't know. That's a long ways down the road. That's another thing. I need to get the Ventura in here. I have got quite a few things for it too. I got seats for it, and some little console thing, and I got all the seat brackets and carpet, and the carpet is on top of the black car. So, but yeah, I got a ton of stuff to do. So, but I do need to start getting this welding knocked out. There's still a ton of welding that has to be done on this car, but I need to get what I've already started done. And I think once we can get to that point, if we get all that done and get all the front end stuff knocked out I'm gonna do, then we can throw the motor in. The motor's over there, it runs. I'll have to decide on transmission. I'll either have to I'll have to have a transmission built regardless. There was a 400 in this car, and then I have a turbo 350 that works, but it leaks out of every orifice, so it'll have to at least be gone through. It just, I don't, like I said, I don't know which one I'm gonna use yet, but yeah, I mean, I've got a lot left to do still, but like I said, I'm pumped, I'm motivated to work on it because, like I said, it's back into a roller. I like it. So anyway, we're gonna get busy on this welding. All right, I've got most of this section done. I do have a few spots, like right there and up here and over here, that I'm gonna have to fill that in with something. It's too big of a gap for me to weld across. I'm sure an actual weld, like for real welder, could probably weld it up no problem, but my skill level is not good enough to do that. I just keep blowing holes in it. So I've tried in a couple of spots, like right there, and just wind up having to booger weld it because I just make it worse. So I got a spot right there that's, you can almost stick your finger through it. So, but most of it is done. I got all the spot welds in the center on the brace and almost the whole perimeter. I do have a spot back in that corner. I think I'm gonna have to slice it and then knock it down with a hammer because the bend is wrong. But yeah, it's coming along. But I think before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and get all this crap out of the way because I got to do a bunch of that on this. So I'm just gonna wait and do it all at, trim all my filler pieces all at once. Like I said, I know I got this big one here. I'm gonna have to cut out some more over there and put a piece in, and I think most of that top up there I can do. There's a pretty good gap up in that end, but I think I can do that. I don't know about up in there. I can't really see it good because of that pedal, but I think it's bad, like bad off, and like some of the contours of the pan don't line up perfect, so there'll be a lot of, welding and hammering and probably a lot of cussing, all that good stuff. But anyway, we'll get back on it pretty soon. Well, like everything else on this car, can't nothing be easy. I'm trying to get the inner fender out, and the little clips like these right here, a bunch of them broke, like where the fender bolts to it, so the bolts were just spinning. So I've been trying to cut them all out, and it's just been a nightmare, but I'm about there. So we're going to try to get this inner fender out. I want to get the booster and master cylinder off. I did get the lines out. They just came right out. I was surprised. I figured they'd be rusted in there. And then we'll undo the column there and unbolt all that. Try to get all that stuff out of the way so we can eventually start finishing up the welding on the floor. And I'm gonna try to get, of course this one's probably gonna be just as bad, but I'm gonna get that inner fender out, get all the AC stuff off. I'm gonna get everything off the firewall too, because when I get the inner fender wells out and get the nose off and the core support out, we're gonna clean all this up and paint everything. Just kind of scuff it up and paint it all black. I don't know if these inner fenders are going to be salvageable, but hopefully. I won't know till I get them out. I know up around the front where they bolt to the core support, there's some rot. And then this fender is pretty bad right here where everything kind of bolts to. It's one of these things that, like, the more I mess with this car, the more rust I find. So it's no fun. I hope the frame is good, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna get all this stuff and probably find a bunch of rot on the frame, so that'll be my luck, especially after I got this deep into it. Well, I finally got the inner fender out, brake booster, steering column, the brake pedal assembly. Got the other side out too. Got the AC system, like the AC box and everything off. We're not going to reuse any of that. It's all, I have probably 5 of those anyway. If I do put AC on this car, it'll be a vintage air like the one we put on that car. This side come out a little easier. I only had to cut 1 bolt. Everything else, you know, come out. I was surprised. So I need to get all this old power steering pump, alternator, bracket stuff off and out of the way. I probably am not going to use that steering gear. I have the one that came off that car, but it has a little slack in it. But I put a quick ratio box on that car, and I really like it, so we may put one on this car too. And I want to take this out anyway, because lots of times the bolts that hold them in on the inside of the frame, they're rusted so bad they're just like that thin, barely holding on. So I always like to take them out anyway, just to make sure they're not fixing to like rot away and the steering box fall off when you're going down the road. This inner fender is in really good shape. None of the holes are rotted out on it. So it is definitely salvageable. That one needs some work, like on this end where it bolts to the core support, but there is one hole there, but it's pretty rusty. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really want to buy new ones, but I mean, I am putting a new core support in there, so I don't know. We'll just see when it's time to go back together with it where we're at, and if, you know, I can find some that ain't just super crazy expensive and in stock. That seems to be a lot of my issue lately, is finding stuff in stock. But yeah, I had to soak everything in penetrating oil. I got that shit everywhere. But I like never got the brake pedal assembly out because the little pin that goes through the brake pedal was seized in there, so I had to soak it for a while and then beat it with a hammer. But anyway, I got all this stuff out. And like right up there, that is so bad. Like I'm gonna have to, I don't know what I'm gonna have to do there. You know, I was trying to do this with all that stuff in there and I couldn't really see very good, so my cut is very bad off. Like, it's definitely gonna be, I'm gonna have to add some filler to it, but I'm gonna have to do that in a lot of places anyway. But yeah, we're getting there. But I want to get all this stuff out of the way anyway. I'll probably take the emergency brake thing off too, because like I said, I want to scuff all of this up in here and coat it. I know it's kind of dark in here, you probably can't see the roof, but the roof is really bad. But I should have saved it, but like there was just a wad of melted plastic like stuck to this from like I said, this thing was on fire, and it obviously melted like the back of the cluster, because there was like bulbs like for the indicator light, or you know, the bulbs in your cluster were like melted into it. So yeah, it's definitely been on fire. But yeah, that turned into a chore. Just, you know, something simple as removing some old parts. That was like work. But I'm glad to have it all done. So we'll get it all cleaned up eventually. Like I said, I just wanted to get most of that out of the way so we could go and, you know, finish welding the floor pans. Like I'm gonna have to take all this stuff out too, like the vent thing, so I can scuff all that up. And like that vintage air kit, all your hoses and stuff route through there anyway, so if that is what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have to remove that anyway. So but like I said, I do want to get it all coated and everything. So all right, we'll get back to welding on this thing. All right, I got this little section that had that wide gap filled, and I filled this little spot right here. I got to do a little more welding on it, but got the piece in there. I do have to cut a piece out. The metal is still pretty bad right there, so I'm gonna cut me out a little piece there. And I'm sure I'm gonna have to put something in between here because I don't think I can weld that gap up. I'll try, but I think most of that I can get, and most down this side I can get. That up there is going to be a pain in the ass. Like, it is so bad. I'm going to have to, like, cut some slits in it and, like, knock it down. And, you know, this is just so... I did such a terrible job on this. Like, it's embarrassing. I'm not even ashamed to show it to you. But, yeah, this was the first piece I did. And, luckily, my cutting and fitting got better at each, you know, because I did this one next and it was a little bit better, that one was a little better, and then those were, yeah, so. But I'm gonna keep trying to fit some of these pieces in and making me some little patches and stuff, and hopefully get this knocked out pretty soon. Well, I ran out of gas for my welder, so I guess we're done welding for today. But I got all that fully welded, all of this up to about right there. Got that patch put in and started across there, got to about right there, and then I'm gonna have to get a little piece to fill in there, and then I got a piece up here I got to fill in. Haven't done anything with that yet. Still, I was trying to get all this knocked out and then focus on that, but like I said, we ran out of gas for the welder. I knew it, of course, you know, not being a great welder, I knew my welds were worse than normal, and I'm like, what's going on? I was like, surely I'm not out of gas, because it ain't been that long since I filled that bottle, but sure enough, it's out. So anyway, but yeah, this gap right here was pretty good size, but I was able to get it. Of course, it's all booger welded, and I think I can get that. I don't know that I'll get that or not. I think it'll be easier just butt a piece up to the new metal, tack it, and then just cut it out to match. That's what I did here. I just tacked it there and then cut, you know, both pieces at the same time. So it'll be easier up here because it's easier to get to, because I had this bracket kind of in the way. But I think that's what I'll do. But yeah, once we get just this little bit here done and all that up there, we'll be done with the floor pans, other than grinding them down. Like I said, I do have a few spots in the A pillars. I'm gonna have to get these seals out and fix that, and we'll be done, and then I'll be glad, because I am tired of welding on this thing. But there is still a lot. Even though the floor pans will be done, there's still a lot to be done. You know, the fender and all that shit around the back glass. So, but anyway, I think I'm gonna call it for tonight, and I don't know what I'll do tomorrow, but I'll come out and do some more stuff on it tomorrow. Try to get as much time in on this thing this weekend as I can before I go back to work Monday. But yeah, I mean, we made some progress this weekend, so every little bit of progress helps. So anyway, we'll be back in the morning. Got my bottle filled and got it back on there. We're gonna make sure we ain't got no leaks. I don't see no bubbles, so I think we're good. It did seem like that last bottle didn't last very long, but I did do a lot of welding here recently, so I'm sure that's what it is. But yeah, seems like I hadn't been that long since I had the bottle filled, so who knows. But like I said, I probably just welded a lot more than I had thought I did. But the last bottle, like when I say I get my bottle filled, they just exchange it. And the last bottle, like the little valve seemed real, like, I don't know, rough. Like couldn't hardly open it or close it, so it may have been leaking, because I don't even remember checking it the last time. But and I could have left it on one night or something and not known. Who knows with me. But anyway, we're gonna try to get some more welding done on this thing. All right, so I'm working on the toe board up here, and I don't know if you can tell, but like the bends and the contours of the new pan don't match the actual floor. But I think I can get it. I'm gonna tack it about right there and try to bend all this, and I'm probably gonna have to cut it right there to get that all to match up. And then I have a pretty good gap right there. I might be able to do that, I don't know. And some of this, oh man, it's just terrible. It is so bad. Whose idea was it to do this? Oh wait, that was mine. I'm a dumbass. But anyway, I'm gonna work on that a little bit. I did have to take a break for a minute and work on my air conditioner in my shop. It was freezing up, and I know I've mentioned many times, we're in the south, so it's hot as shit here. So I'm spoilt to have an AC. So, but it seems to be working all right now. I cleaned the filters and sprayed out the coils and all that stuff. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it continues to work. So, but I'll go out and check it again in a few minutes to make sure it ain't freezing up again. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw a couple of tacks on this and see if I can get it kind of close, and then I'll show you the progress before I, completely weld it. I did have to split it right there so I could get both of these sides to lay down, so I had to put a little filler piece in there. And then this metal right here is still pretty rotten, so I'm gonna have to cut out there, and then I'm probably going to make me some little filler pieces. I can probably weld across it, but it's so, the weld is so bad with me doing it that I think I can maybe do a few more tacks there, but some of this stuff is just, the gap is just so wide. I may try it, but it seems like the more I try, the more I just blow holes in it. So, but that's kind of where we're at. I do have several places I'm gonna have to add some stuff, some over there. But yeah, this was the worst one, as far as fitment goes. All the rest of these fit a lot better. This, I wish I'd have just completely redid it after it was so bad. I wish I would have just stopped and just completely started over, but it is what it is. We'll get it one way or the other. That ain't no problem. Well, what seems like an eternity, the pans are fully welded now. I didn't film any more of the welding and stuff. It's just boring and monotonous. I know everybody gripes and in my comments are like, you need to talk less and work more, but sometimes it's hard to work and film everything when you're by yourself. But yeah, it's ugly, but it is solid. It's in there completely 100% welded. Finally. Oh my God, what a nightmare. But I think the problem is my ability to cut out the patches, and fit them properly. I think if I took my time with this one a little more, it wouldn't have been so bad, because like I said, once I got over there, that wasn't so bad. Speaking of that, I'm trying to patch this little spot. I've got me a little piece made that I think is going to work. But I got to be able to cut this out to where that fits good, and that's where I struggle. I either wind up getting the piece way too big or the hole way too big, and so then my gaps suck. So I'm gonna attempt to take my time and see if I can do this, without, butchering it like I did this floor pan. Like, I did have to weld in a piece up there, but a lot of these other gaps that I thought were going to be too wide for me to do, I was able to do. So I just had to slow down and take my time and just kind of walk the weld across the gap. But it's just not something I'm real great at, but obviously. But anyway, I'm going to try to get, I don't even know what is the best thing to use, because my cutoff wheel I think is too big. to get in there and do what I need to do. And my little air saw, it works pretty good, this thing, but it's, I don't know, I just can't, it doesn't always go where I want it to go. But I may try, if I can just get a little bit of it out, and then I may take like a little sanding, I got that little tiny belt sander. I may just try to, if I can get kind of close to the line, and then sand the rest of it down. So I think I'm gonna attempt that. But you know, if you've been with my channel very long, you know that I suck at this, and this is probably gonna go horribly. So stay tuned and we'll see how bad it is when I get it cut out. All right, I'm gonna see if I can do this one-handed. Probably not. I'm probably gonna drop it like 15 times, but this is about as close as I can. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this one-handed or not. I don't know if you'll be able to see. That's pretty close for me, and I know it looks like there's a bigger gap than what there is because I can't hold it. See, told you I was gonna drop it. I can't get it in there and show you one-handed, but it actually fits decent, you know, for me, you know. I'm gonna try to shape it just a little bit. I think I've got the contour up here at the top pretty close, but this one down at the bottom, I think my bend is a little too much. Well, yeah, but I think what I'll do is tack it in up here at the top, and then kind of try to tap that down and fit, you know. I don't know, we'll see. It's probably gonna, I'm probably gonna screw this up like terribly like I did the floors, but I'm starting out pretty close. But you know, I've done that before, start out real close and then, you know, it not turn out the way I want it to. So bear with me, we'll see how it goes. Maybe too much light on it, but anyway, I think once I get it fully welded and ground down, I think it's gonna be okay. It fit pretty good. There was a couple of spots where it didn't want to fit just right. Of course, my damn welding just sucks so bad. But anyway, I'm gonna keep at it and see if I can get this looking halfway, you know, decent. That's might be a stretch though, but man, I really thought that one was going to do pretty good, because I mean, you can see like my gap was pretty good, but I don't know why. Sometimes my welds look pretty decent and sometimes they don't. So I don't think that looks too bad. Get a little filler on it. I mean, just a little bit. Turned out pretty good. Shockingly for me, you know what I mean? But yeah, just that little bit takes a long time when you try to do it right, or halfway right. But I got another spot. It's a little bit bigger spot, but it's in the same spot. Let's see right there. So I'm gonna have to try to make a little piece for that. But that, I don't know, that other one was up a little higher, so I don't know, that kind of got a curve and a bend to it, so that may be a trick for me, but who knows. I'm just glad the floor pans are all done, you know what I mean? Like all this other stuff is just piddly stuff. So we're gonna keep plugging at it and hopefully try to get as much of this stuff knocked out as we can, because I think in the next video I want to go ahead and get all this stuff off, and we'll work on clean the frame up and maybe doing the front suspension, where hopefully pretty soon we can start turning wrenches on this thing instead of cutting and welding, you know what I mean? But let me see if I can find something to make me a little piece. I've got all this scrap over here that I've been just, you know, cutting pieces off, so maybe there'll be something in there that's kind of got maybe the same, sort of the same shape. There's all kinds of different, you know, pieces and bends and stuff. So let me see what I can come up with, and we'll be right back. All right, so got this side done over here. It actually turned out pretty good too, so I'm happy with it. Just a little bit of a, of course I forgot to bring my light over here, but I think just a little skim of filler and that'll be good. I started kind of grinding down these spots. I had welded in patches like when I first started doing the floor right here. I still got to grind all that down right up against that seam there. Started on this side also, or this piece back here too. I may have to do a little more welding on it, and I need to get a new belt for this little sander here so I can get into some of these tighter spots, which I may have some. I just got to find them. And then I found one other spot I need to take care of, which I probably need to really go back over this car real good, but I know right here you can see daylight through there. I think it was just seam sealed from the factory, so we may just dig all this crap here out and seam seal it, and or put some of that fiberglass reinforced filler in there or something. I don't know that I'll have to weld that. But the biggest thing is the floor pans are done, other than grinding them down, and I'll probably put a little bit of filler over the welds after I grind them down. But other than that, it is done, and I'm glad. I am so sick of this welding and cutting on this thing. But anyway, I've been out here all day messing with this. I'm tired, so I think that's where I'm gonna end this video. I appreciate everybody watching. As always, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and we will catch y'all on the next one. Go work on your junk.